Hey, ¿qué tal amigos? Stuart here from Spain Speaks. Again in the car today. Got to go and do a few errands, buy a few things. First thing I'm going to do is clean the car because it's pretty disgusting. The birds have had a field day over the last couple of weeks now that the spring has decided to set in. So got to run a few errands, but I thought I'd go over one of the videos I did a couple of years ago about whether or not Spain is a safe country to live in, and see if things have changed over the last 2 years since I recorded that video. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Let's go. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is clean the car. As I said, the birds have been going berserk over the last few weeks. Good weather, plenty of seeds, plenty of avian activity happening, and they've decided to shit all over the car basically. So let's go and get that cleaned up. This week I've got to go to the ITV, which is the Spanish equivalent of the MOT, I suppose. In Australia we don't really have one, but it's where you got to go and make sure that your car is roadworthy. So I'm going to be doing that later in the week. But today a few errands to run. First going to do this. Now, is Spain still a safe country to live in? Well, the answer to that question is yes. I don't think, at least from my perception, that anything has changed radically in the last 2 years since I made the first video. 2016, when I recorded that video, of course Spain was just starting to come out of the crisis, let's say, and now 2 years on we can more or less imagine that, yeah, the economy is starting to get a bit better. There's a lot more people in active employment nowadays, and there's just generally a better vibe in the country. Spain, as we know, was ravaged by the economic crisis. Hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people, lost their jobs. Unemployment hit record levels, and of course during that time things did change. Obviously, when you've got so many people out of work, crime rates are going to increase as people need to steal to make ends meet basically. But you know, I haven't noticed an increase in this particular area where I live. Now remember, I live about 20 kilometers east of Madrid. Madrid, Spain's biggest capital city. And of course, if you go into the center of Madrid, you can have some crime problems. Somebody could steal your wallet. Maybe if you're a tourist, somebody could steal your camera. But again, I've never had a problem. I said this 2 years ago, and in the last 2 years, nothing has changed. I haven't had a problem, haven't been robbed, haven't had my wallet stolen, haven't had my bag snatched. So we'll just go in here and get the car clean. See if it's working. It should be. So I'll finish this, I'll continue, let's say, when I get the car done. Alright, so that's a slight improvement. Car's a bit cleaner. So now we can go and get those errands done. The worst thing about this car wash is that I have to get back on the highway here and do a U-turn to go back the other way, so bear with me. So where were we? Yeah, so Spain, in my opinion, is no more dangerous than it was 2 years ago, and in general it's a safe country. You shouldn't have any problems should you decide to come and live here, one of the big cities. Now, obviously, if you're planning on moving to Barcelona or anywhere in the Catalonia region, Catalonia, be aware that there are troubles there. Now, I don't know how bad they are because I don't live there, but you know, what you read in the press is that there can be tense moments. I don't think it's as bad as it was 6 months ago. I think things have settled down a little bit, but you never know if something could trigger the problems there again. Remember that Catalonia is currently without a government. A lot of the main politicians in the area are in jail. or living in exile, or have fled the country, depending on who you want to believe. And things could be a little bit tense there. If you live anywhere else in Spain, I don't think you're going to have a problem. In general, living in this country is fairly laid back. People are not really in your face. The police are strict if you do something wrong, but they're not overbearing like they are in Australia or in Perth, where I come from. You really sense the police presence in Perth. Here you don't. I mean, you see the civil guard on the highways, you see the local police in the cities. But if you don't do anything wrong, I mean, if you're driving a car like this one and your car's roadworthy and you're not breaking any road rules, you shouldn't have a problem with the civil guard. And that goes for the main cities as well, with the national police. If you live and let live, as I like to say, you shouldn't have a problem with the police. Every now and again, you're going to hear stories of people that go missing, that end up being murdered and things like that. Sometimes it happens to tourists, but it's no different than any other country in that regard. There's no gun culture in this country, so you don't have to worry about people wielding guns, worry about getting shot. You don't have the knife crimes like you do in the UK at the moment, so it's a fairly laid-back place. There are some gangs in some of the lower socio-economic areas of the city. You're going to find Latino gangs, but if you stay out of their way, they're not going to come looking for you. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you might run into a bit of trouble, but in general, I can't see that that's going to be an issue. Nightlife in Spain is really safe. I've mentioned this in other videos as well, that Spain doesn't have a violence associated with alcohol. That hasn't changed. People like to have a drink, they like to have a beer, they like to have a bottle of wine, maybe they like to have a cubata, as they call them here, like a long drink, a rum and coke or a gin tonic or something like that. But people don't get violent. They normally go home, they have fun, have a few drinks, have a meal, go home. So there's no alcohol related violence, or that hasn't changed in the last couple of years. So more or less everything's the same. Now when it comes to investor security, a few people have written to me saying, how is it safe to buy property here? How can I trust people to buy property? Well, the fact of the matter is that it's, that's fairly hit and miss. There's a bit of a housing boom going on at the moment. So if you are thinking about buying property in Spain, it's probably a good idea to do it at the beginning of a property boom, not in the middle or towards the end, because that's when the bad practices start to creep in. But you should be fairly safe now should you decide to buy property in Spain. You can buy some of the leftover property that wasn't finished a few years ago. I don't know what this truck is trying to do here. So, as I always say, do the due diligence. If you can invest with a foreign fund that's got a good reputation, do that. But apart from that, everything more or less is the same. Living here in Spain, safe country. I recommend it if you're looking to retire here or coming here to work. So that's all I've got to say. I'm where I need to be now. I've got to go to two shops here, so I'm going to park in the middle of the two. I've got to go to Leroy Merlin over there. I've also got to go to a place called Kiabi, which is here on the right. So I'll head over to both of these. So that's all I've got to talk about today. Any questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. If you have lived in Spain or you're living in Spain now and you don't agree with me, you don't think that Spain is a safe country, please leave that opinion below. I'd love to hear it. As I said, in my opinion, this is a safe country. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.